On this episode of Local Film Talk, Konrad and I are going to talk about some of our recent and upcoming projects. To get this and our other shows first, subscribe to the Local Film Talk YouTube channel, or you can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Local Film Talk. This is the show where me and my co-host discuss local films. Sometimes we chat with other people who are working in the local scene to try to get tips and tricks that you can use in your own project. But today we're actually going to talk a little bit about our own projects and some of the stuff we're doing. So I am Bob Walters.
And I'm Konrad Arnold, and we are also from Triangle Filmmaking Community.
That we are. Now I know if you're watching this,
you always leave it. You always just. I'm like the one of Triangle Filmmaking Community, but you are my co-organizer.
Well, the funny thing is that I was always putting trianglelife.tv on my lower third, and then I switched over to just putting my Twitter account. And when I asked you what you wanted for yours, you said Triangle Filmmaking Community. Which, come to think of it, I need to change. It was Triangle Film Community. Now I need to change it to Triangle Filmmaking Community.
Yes, that's right. We have changed the name.
Yes.
Slightly.
Yeah, I mentioned that in last week's episode, maybe? Yeah, I think I did. I think I mentioned it in the intro to last week's episode. We switched into filmmaking.
I was mysteriously absent last week.
Yeah, I forget what the problem was. I think I said you were at a furry convention.
No, it's prolapsed anus.
So for those of you who are watching live, you might notice that the name of this video is Live with Tom Gore. Originally, our guest was supposed to be our buddy Tom Gore. He was going to talk about his 60 Seconds to Die film projects, but unfortunately, he had an emergency come up. He wasn't able to make it, and we found this out after I had already set up the video. So no, Tom is not here. Yes, it says Tom's here, but he's not. Just roll
Live with Tom Gore in spirit.
Live with Tom Gore in spirit. Tom Gore is here. He's with everybody. He's all around us. The spirit of Tom Gore lives on.
We are breathing in some Tom Gore right now.
Ugh. So anyways, we apologize for the misleading title, but today is just going to be me and Konrad kind of discussing some of the stuff we've been working on, some of the stuff going on with Triangle Film Community and our other projects, share a little of our personal wisdom and lessons that we've been learning lately, and of course we have also posted in the Triangle Filmmaking Community Facebook page, and let me bring that up over here, if you have a question that you would like to ask us. If you're watching and would like us to answer a question, by all means, just leave a comment asking your question, and we will try to answer it. Let me see if I can find it down here. There it is. No comments yet. I know we have a couple viewers, so guys, go ahead, ask us a question, and we'll make this an interactive episode. So let's start by talking. Usually we start with discussing upcoming events. Let's talk about something that just happened, which is the premiere of Roger Paris's feature film Scorpion.
Hold on a second. I was commenting that we're without Tom Gore, and I accidentally spelled it Tom Goat.
We are without Tom Goat. I think we have an episode title, folks.
All right.
We are without Tom Goat.
Now we are without Tom Gore. Tom Gore, the best drums in the world.
Tom Gore, isn't he a navigation device?
Yes, he is.
Yes,
okay. He is. Wait a minute. You are quite a bit quieter than Bob. Thank you, Mike. I could project more, I guess. I'm using my iPad. I'm outside. I don't have an external microphone. My headphones are cheap. They don't have a microphone on them.
Yes, you get to sit outside and enjoy the lovely weather. I, on the other hand, I have this studio I have to light, so I don't get to enjoy the weather.
I will sit a little closer.
Also, I have this nice, sexy microphone.
Kind of dick. So thanks, Mike. So last night was the premiere of the feature version of Scorpion, known as Scorpion Vice City Shakedown. And it was a hell of a show, man. Roger, it's been a few years since we first started rolling on that thing.
Mhm.
And
In fact, come to think of it, the very first episode of Local Film Talk was an interview about Roger talking while you guys were still making the show, while it was still an episodic web series. I think at the time he had released the 4th episode.
yes.
And was getting ready to shoot the 5th one. No. Actually, he was getting ready to shoot the airport stuff, which was probably episode 9 or whatever. But
I feel like we had already done the airport shoot, because I think that was where you first met him.
Well, I first actually ran it. The truth is that I was working on Matt Bussey's A One-Up Kind of Life, and he told me about the Triangle Film Community. So I came out to a meetup, and that's where I ran into everybody. And I first ran into Roger, and somebody said, "Oh yeah, he just released the 4th episode of Scorpion." And so I went and checked that out. And I think it was from there that I hit him up. I think you're right. I think I found out about the shoot at the airport, and so I went to that. And then it was a few months later I started working on Local Film Talk and Triangle Life TV and all that stuff. And that's when I said, we need our first episode. Let me hit up Roger, because he's doing crazy shit.
Yes, he is. Well, yeah, so the culmination of 4 or 5 years of shooting, then some other time came
some editing, restructuring.
Editing, effects, restructuring it, because it was originally a web series, and then it got remade into a feature film. It all paid off last night.
Varsity Theater in Chapel Hill, which is funny because that's where we were again today. But it sounds like it was a really great turnout. Like I said, I wasn't able to make it, but you were there, and you said the place was almost packed.
Place was pretty packed, man. And the crowd was having a good time. They were laughing in places, and they were cheering in places, and it was good, man. It was a good show. Hey, Roger, man, you watching this? Congratulations, bro. It was some good stuff. He even did a trailer reel at the beginning, and ran some vintage theater preview kind of stuff.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that was really cool. It was a good show. It was hosted by Tracy Coppage.
Tracy hosts everything.
Oh, she's so good at it.
She is very good at it. She hosts every time I go to one of Eric Pruitt's North the Bars. She's hosting that. So, well, that's cool. Tracy's always fun. Was Tracy actually in it? I think Tracy might have been one of the few people that wasn't in Scorpion.
Yeah.
Seems like freaking everybody was in that thing.
I don't remember Tracy being in it.
Huh. Tracy, if you were in it and we missed it, we apologize. But pretty much everybody else around here was involved in that thing in one way or another. The infamous Scorpion web series, which, of course, now a feature film, finally out. And, like I said, it's been getting a lot of good responses on Facebook. So hopefully it gets screens again sometime and I'll have a chance to go. But sounds like everything was awesome. So congrats to Roger and everybody else who made that thing happen.
Oh, yeah, man.
So what else we got coming up? We got Film Spark. Huh?
We have Film Spark coming.
I want to go ahead and get Film Spark out of the way because that's always a quick plug we can go ahead and say.
I believe. Try to remember when the fee deadlines are.
I want to say the end of June is a price increase to the late submission period, and then the end of July is the end of submissions, right?
That sounds right. I don't have it in front of me, and again, I'm on the back porch. I don't have this information. It could always be in the show notes.
We always have a link. Let me vamp for me, Konrad. Let me see what I can find.
I am going to vamp right now. Man, and I'm on the spot. This episode.
Here we go. Regular deadline is July 1st. Late deadline, August 6th.
All right, there we go.
So more or less, yeah. The The beginning of July and the beginning of August are the respective deadlines.
Okay. So we're still taking films. I know we just had one come in right before we started this episode. Thank you, Jeffrey.
Yes. For those of you who are at the West End Summer Film Series, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a minute, Puppets for the State made its world debut at last week's West End Summer Film Series and got an awesome response. That thing was hilarious, and we're both, as Konrad just said, we're both really jazzed that he decided to submit that to FilmSpark because hopefully it gets enough votes from the rest of the judges and we get to show that to everybody. Because I think it's funny. I think it's funny as hell.
And I haven't seen it yet, so I'm looking forward to being able to see it.
There we go. So yeah, everybody go ahead and submit to FilmSpark. It is $15 right now through July 1st. After that, it goes up to a whopping, is it 20 or 25? 20, a whopping $20 to submit your film to FilmSpark through August 6th, which is still a pretty good bargain of a deal to submit to a film festival.
Yes.
So anything made in North Carolina from 2014 and on, whether it be a feature or a short or a documentary or a music video or whatever, by all means, go ahead and submit it, and we will see if we can find a way to screen it, because that's what we're trying to do here, is try to exhibit as many great local films as possible.
That is our goal.
Konrad agrees.
So speaking of exhibiting local films, what about the West End Wine Bar Summer Film Series?
Well, the thing about that one, and this kind of gets into the first topic I really wanted to discuss. It kind of ties into the screenings that the Triangle filmmaking community is doing at the Cary Theater. We're having a lot of fun at West End. We just finished our fourth week of screenings. It gets bigger every week. If any of you guys out there have not been, you're missing out. Every Wednesday this summer at 7 p.m. at the West End Wine Bar in Chapel Hill. It's right there on Franklin Street. It's kind of across from the McDonald's. You can't miss it. Come on out. We show an hour of short films. We got drink specials. Eric Pruitt helps me host it. He's a riot. So it's just a lot of fun. A lot of our friends are there, and it's a great time, and you should totally come out and join it. But one thing that I thought might be fun to discuss, we talked a couple weeks ago, if you've been listening to the show, we had Eric on, and we recorded that as we were first starting the West End series. And of course, everything was still theoretical. It was all sunshine and rainbows. Now we're a couple weeks of screening in, and we're programming further and further down the line. Right now we're starting to get into the double digits of weeks we're putting blocks together for. And, we're starting to run into some issues of finding things to put into cohesive blocks. And I know you've been struggling to try to figure out what to show for the next Triangle filmmaking community screening. So I thought it might be interesting to talk about some of the challenges you face when you're trying to program a screening. I guess I'll go ahead and start with the West End one. We do them every week, all summer through the end of August. So we're going to have 14 weeks total. And the original idea was actually Eric's idea, was he wanted to have a theme. And I guess we didn't really anticipate it. So if you're ever doing a screening in the future, or multiple screenings in the future, something to keep in mind is that a lot of times when you say, all right, we're going to do horror, and then, for example, we're going to do one of stuff with female leads, well, you may show a bunch of horror movies, half of them have female leads because, they were the best horror movies you had, and then you get to female lead week and you're like, oh, wait a minute, we're short on movies because we showed half the good ones over here already. So that's something we're starting to run into that we hadn't quite anticipated as much, is, running low on certain blocks because we already used up a lot of good candidates on other ones. And I don't know if, Konrad, you've done a couple screening series. Have you ever run into issues with that where you've, I don't want to say, blown your load or something over here on all the, you've used up all your stuff on one side, and then you got this other block you got to program, and you're like, I already used all the good stuff. What do I do over here?
Well, no, I've never really had a problem with programming blocks because I didn't do themes like you're doing.
Hmm. It's an extra restriction. We couldn't make it too easy on ourselves.
No, you guys have a pretty ambitious thing you're trying to do there.
Right.
That's a lot of programming,
Hmm.
and then you're trying to add themes to it. Um, for example, like Film Spark last year, I think the most we had as far as the theme goes was a family block, and
Right.
that was three films, that made the link to the program. It's pretty
And
easy.
when you were programming the blocks, did a block have to be a certain length? Like when we do the West End screenings, it's got to be 60 minutes ish, a little on one side or the other, but we try to keep it at an hour. If you had only had, say, 30 minutes of family friendly movies or 90 minutes of family friendly movies, did it matter? Were you trying to hit a certain time mark?
I was going for 90 minutes on each block.
Okay.
We did that give or take. Family block, one of our films was about an hour long, so that made it pretty easy.
Right. That helps out a lot.
Right. But if we hadn't had enough material to do a family block, I probably just would not have done the theme. I would have incorporated the films into the other blocks.
Right. And I'm thinking that's, we're definitely going to have to start having a few weeks in there that don't have themes. They're just a collection of, some of the best stuff that's been submitted to us. But we're going to have to break from the whole theme thing for a couple of weeks just to, so we haven't pigeonholed ourselves too much. It's interesting because one of the things, a good example is I wanted to do a block of action movies. And at one point, I had also wanted to do a block of fan films. And it turned out that most of the action films that we have that are being made around here were actually video game related fan films. We're talking Mario Warfare from the Beatdown Boogie guys. They also do, Modern War Gear Solid.
Yep.
And then we ran into a guy who has actually had his stuff screened at the Triangle Filmmaking community screenings before, Taylor Hickman. He had some action films that were actually fan films for the Uncharted series about Nathan Drake. So I actually ended up taking those, which consisted of the majority of the fan film block, and ended up moving them over to the action block because there's not a lot of action movies being made around here. And so now we basically don't have a fan film block. So I kind of had to make a decision. I had to eliminate a theme right there because I couldn't, I didn't want to double dip on those. So that's one of the things that happens, I guess. So yeah, and the other thing is just trying to find the pool, what pool you're drawing from. I know one of the things Eric really wants with the West End series is for the filmmakers to be able to come in. But for convenience reasons of someone being able to come in, we can't afford to put someone up in a hotel or anything. We just like them to come for a Q&A afterwards. That's going to limit us to people here in the Triangle. And there's also great stuff being done in like Wilmington and Greensboro and Charlotte and Asheville and everything. But someone from Asheville isn't necessarily going to make the drive down to Chapel Hill just to watch 60 minutes of movies, do a 15-minute Q&A, and then drive home.
Right.
So yeah, it's those are some of the challenges we've put on ourselves, and that's kind of how we're trying to deal with them. And of course, I always like to put the call out. We have not finished. We're still taking submissions for the West End Summer Film Series. Now, this is a little more limited than Film Spark. We only want short films, and we only want narrative films. That's what we're focused on for this year. But if you have something that fits that criteria, or somebody that does, by all means, have them send a link to West End Summer Film Series at gmail.com, because we can always use more material. We 14 hours of programming is pretty daunting.
Yes.
So we can always use more. So I know you, for the upcoming Triangle Film Community screening, you're still trying to figure out what you want to show. You want to brainstorm a little bit or talk about what some of your ideas are?
Right now, I don't have anything planned. I got really busy these past few weeks doing some print work, and I just hadn't been able to throw the time in on TFC like I normally get to. So normally I have next month's screening already planned by this point, and here I
Right.
am. It's just like, oh crap, I don't have anything.
By this point, you're usually advertising it on Facebook.
It's like, oh yeah, we're showing this thing. It's like we're showing. I'm just gonna get up there and do my tap dance routine. Yeah, that'll look great in there, man.
Konrad's gonna do his famous ping pong ball trick.
Ooh, I'm never gonna talk about that.
It's the internet, man. Stuff doesn't live forever here. So you're trying to so you're brainstorming ideas, and this is one of the nice things about at least what we're doing, because we do Film Spark. We're both judges on Film Spark, and then I'm doing the West End series, so we kind of have two databases of local films that we can pull from to try to figure out what to program for the Triangle Filmmaking series. Now, I know you don't really want to do features for this.
What for the
TFC? The Triangle? Yeah, for the TFC thing.
I have no problem with features.
Oh, I thought we were trying to show more films. We didn't want to just have like one film a night. We want to try to get a bunch of stuff shown.
No, we've done features before. Talking about Tyler Hickman, we showed one of his shorts with as an accompaniment to a feature.
Okay.
Southland of the Heart by Ty Tinkham.
Right. Well, and I know you did Fever Dreams.
Right, we did Fever Dreams back in May, and that was feature. One of our first screenings was Woodhouse Divided by Brian Miller. That's
Oh yeah, that's right, and that was over at Rollywood.
Yep.
Okay.
And we did I'm blanking on the name of the movie. Patrick Shanahan's film where they drive across the country.
I'm not familiar with that one.
It was really good. I suck with remembering the title at the moment. But yeah, I mean, collection of shorts is fine, but also I have no problem showing a feature. I mean, I know there's local features.
Mm-hmm. I guess it's just a matter of finding them and finding the people who made them.
Mm-hmm.
I know Evan Kidd already showed Son of Clowns there, but that wasn't as part of our screening series.
Right.
So I guess it's just a matter of going out there and finding it. If you were to say end up doing short films, would you want some kind of theme, or you just want a collection of stuff?
I'm cool with a collection, man. I don't really feel the need for doing a theme so much. I've always kind of liked that kind of hodgepodge.
Make it eclectic, yeah.
Yeah, like hit you with maybe a quick animated thing, and then hit you with like, a short comedy piece, and then a drama piece or something.
Yeah, I can't really say what works best for the West End series. And again, this might be helpful advice for people who are thinking about doing screenings or anything. I can't really say if doing the themes works better than not doing it, because so far the only non-themed week that we've done was the first week. And of course it was so new then. Obviously we had our smallest turnout because it was a brand new thing. Obviously since then it's been growing, I guess, as word of mouth gets out and everything, but it's also all been themed stuff since then. So it'll be interesting once we finally do get to a week where we just kind of hodgepodge it together. If there's, if it really matters to people, whether the themes and the genres are all jumping around.
Yeah.
So what do you think brings the most people in? I mean, you have done features, you have done short films and all that stuff. What seems to bring in the biggest crowds?
Let's see.
Because one thing I always say, like, people ask me how many people watch Local Film Talk, and the only answer is really it depends on who we're talking to and how much they do to help get the word out.
Right.
We're really reliant on our guests to help spread the word, which is why you and me talking is probably not going to generate a whole lot of views. But when we get people on who are, who have big networks, who are really social media savvy, people like Evan Kidd, when we talk to Chris Everett about Wilmington on Fire, that guy's a social media machine. And that our Wilmington on Fire episode may be our most viewed episode right now, because he really got the word out about that one. So in this case, for our show, it really depends on the people who are involved getting the word out. And I'd say the West End, kind of to the same extent, the filmmakers whose works are being showed, getting the word out to cast and crew and friends to come out to stuff. Is it the same way with the Triangle filmmaking community? I got to get used to that name. Triangle Filmmaking Community Screenings.
We can't just call it TFC.
TFC. All right. I'm beating into their heads by beating it into my head.
There you go. Well, our lowest turnout has been doing experimental film.
Yeah,
which is a shame, because I love experimental film, and I like to see more of it happen. Our higher turnouts tend to be when it's documentary or horror.
Really?
Yeah, that seems to draw out most people.
Do feature documentaries tend to draw out a lot of people? Or is it just like collections of short docs?
I don't think we've done a collection of short docs, but when we've shown feature doc, we've gotten a lot of people.
Because like with the horror stuff, again, if you're showing a collection of short horror movies, those guys are usually pretty, guys like Christopher Moore, and Andrew Huggins. They're all pretty media savvy. They're pretty good at getting their cast and crew to come out. People like Christine Parker and Christopher Moore, they have their crew of people, special effects people and actors and all that stuff that they work with all the time, and they they're really good at working that network to get people to come out. So documentary, and it's funny because I'm surprised by documentaries right after I told you that our Wilmington on Fire episode is probably one of our most viewed ones. So I never really thought about that.
Documentaries, they do have a lot of appeal in that, truth is stranger than fiction, man. Yeah.
A lot of times, yeah.
Yeah. I think the more popular documentaries tend to be the ones that aren't so agenda focused. It's just like they're exploring something, or they're just retelling something, like Wilmington on Fire, man, retelling a bit of North Carolina history that isn't, that's known but not really well known.
Right.
Unless you're in Wilmington, maybe. Woodhouse Divided, Brian Miller's documentary, that did really well. That was the one where he shot footage of Woodhouse brothers, who have a big political ideology difference between, at the time, one of the brothers was head of the North Carolina Tea Party, and the other one worked in the Democratic National Committee. So, of course, all they do is fight.
In politics, no way, man. No way.
No, right? Yeah.
Everybody is working together for a greater future. And they're negotiating calmly and like adults, and nobody calls anybody names, and everybody respects everybody else's opinion. And and pigs fly and all that good stuff. John Demers is commenting on the Facebook page. He says the bird at Konrad's house is driving me crazy.
The bird?
There was a bird in the background a minute ago squawking.
Oh, I didn't notice.
I haven't heard a bird in a while, but I'm hearing the crickets now. How are the crickets for you, JD?
I just saw this like fat calico cat go slinking by.
You might need to go in a minute, because for anybody listening to the audio podcast, it's getting a little dark out there. Conrad's sitting on his back porch.
All right, I guess I can move.
I have to go see Conrad's messy ass kitchen.
I'm out of delicious black cherry diet soda from Kroger.
Don't. If they don't pay us, don't show it.
Product placement right there. Bam.
Oh man, somebody got a free plug. Damn it.
I like it, so they get it. All right, we're gonna get a view of my ceiling as I walk.
There we go.
There we go.
Oh, well, one of the things that I had suggested to you was there's I know there's I'll send you the link. There's a feature length cartoon that some guys did called I don't even remember the name of it. I'll send it to you. Some guys in Wilmington with a popular web series did a feature-length Western cartoon. So I'll be sure to send that your way. Maybe we can screen that, or we'll flip through the various West End and Film Spark submissions. See what we can find that's good.
Yeah, put together something. Pull it
right. So we don't spend all our time, sitting around watching everybody's movies and deciding whether or not they're good.
We're not that judgmental.
Yeah, we occasionally shoot some stuff of our own. Since you were the director this time, I'll let you talk a little bit. We actually shot a short comedy film earlier today. Come to think of it, I've been talking to you constantly since 9 o'clock this morning. I need a break from my Konrad.
Yeah, you need a break from Konrad. Konrad was so good.
So yeah, talk a little bit about this short we shot, and some of the challenges we ran into with that, because that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's been a full day for us, man.
It has.
So yeah, we started off today out in Carborough. Shooting a short comedy film. We had some really funny, talented actors to help us pull it off. We had Phil Crew, we had Mike Bacigalupo, we had Patrick Whalen, we had Robert Angelo, and
Al Julian was our babysitter.
Al Julian was our babysitter. He and his wife Sylvia really came through for us, provided us with a location. So that was really awesome. And in fact, our location was the very same location that the session was shot in. So ours isn't as dark and moody though.
No, it's a comedy.
It's a comedy. It's a comedy about a really bad job interview.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, it was a fun shoot. We had some leftover duck donuts for craft services because we spared all expenses.
Yes.
And we had to be a little creative with the lighting.
Yeah, lighting we ran into an issue because we only had one light. I mean, there was the overhead lighting in the room, but we only had one LED work light that we were not able to dim, that we had to work with. So, tell the folks a little bit about what we had to do with that.
Well, one of the advantages for us was that, we're shooting short comedy. We just need it to be funny. That's the only metric that matters for a comedy piece. Is it funny?
Right.
Maybe on a feature length thing, story will matter a whole lot more. But for what we were doing, it just needs to make you laugh. So it doesn't need to look pretty. It doesn't need to.
And to be honest, when it comes to comedy, most of your competition is shit people shot on their cell phones and put on Facebook anyway. So the bar for production quality on comedies in most people's mind is pretty low bar. Like you said, is it funny?
And I think what we shot was funny. The edit will tell, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. We had to tweak the script around a little bit. We had a little bit of a physical stunt in it.
Mm-hmm. So tell the folks a little bit about dealing with, because obviously pre-production is key. And when we walked in, you had 8 different shots planned out and everything, and the angles. And I think we had, you were familiar with the location from having worked on the session. So
right,
we had a pretty good handle on what we wanted to do and how we were going to do it. So pre-production is key, but what were some of the things that we did along the way, like
Okay.
adapting it, like adapting to the situation?
Okay, well, yeah, I already knew the room, already knew the shape of the room. Based on recent pictures of the room that Al sent me, I knew what to expect, so that was really easy. Um, I drew an overhead of the room with a table in it and everything, and staged where I wanted my actors to be. Um, One of the limitations we had was about a 5 hour window to get everything done. So I just figured out what shots we definitely needed,
Hmm.
doubles, singles, master, that kind of thing. And thankfully, we were doing a 2 camera setup.
Right.
So we were able to knock out a lot of those shots concurrently. And but just going in, knowing what I needed, having to have having a list to go down and make sure we got all of that. We ended up having a little extra time. We shot a few extra angles that weren't written in. Um, and then we got done a little early, so we were able to wrap and get all the data wrangled without having to go somewhere else to wrangle it.
Hmm.
So it worked out perfect for us, man. But it was
Right.
all due to planning. You know.
Yeah, and in addition to planning, adaptability is also key. One thing that I thought was interesting was there's a character in the short film with a drinking problem. And we had thought it would be funny if throughout the sketch, more and more beer bottles appeared on the table in front of him, like he was just a drinking machine. And we
Mm-hmm.
brought like 50 beer bottles. So it was going to like start out with one, and then there'd be 5 and 8 and then 10. It's just going to get ridiculous. And we thought that would be funny. And I'd still say it would have been really funny, but we found out really quickly that comedy is all about rhythm and timing. And once your actors are going and they're bouncing off each other, it really screws up the rhythm if you have to call cut every 2 lines and put a half dozen beer bottles on the table and then step back and have them do 3 more lines and then stop and then put more beer bottles on the table.
Yeah, if we had had more time to shoot, it it would have been doable, but
Mm-hmm.
um, we wouldn't have gotten it done if we had
Mm-hmm.
to stop and like
We
maintain
tried it with
continuity.
one take, and that one take took forever. And
Hmm.
we realized that there was going to be all sorts of continuity issues. And like I said, it just screws up the rhythm of everything if your actors have to keep pausing.
Yeah, it's a funny joke, but we just didn't have the time for it, so we had to cut it.
Yeah,
And
it would have screwed up the whole shoot, and it probably would have hurt the whole project in the end. So you got to think about the big picture first.
yeah, and another thing we had to adapt was a lack of specific costume.
Hmm.
There was a little bit of an absurdist thing in the script, and we had to cut that just because it's hard to find that costume when it's not Halloween season. We could have gone uh, online and gotten one, but it's hard to like see the quality of it before you buy it.
Yeah, it's a lot of, it's easy and it's cheap to go get, in September or October to go get costumes for just about anything you're trying to do at a Halloween store. But, June, a little bit tougher. Got to order off Amazon. Not quite as cheap. So, and then another thing we had to adapt to, and I'm crossing my fingers that this came out all right, was we lost our boom mic. We thought we were going to be able to rent a boom mic. That fell through, so we actually had to use lav mics to shoot the whole thing. And we set the levels. We did a pretty good job of hiding them in the ties of the people doing the interview and everything. And I think it turned out okay. The audio had very few blowouts. One of our actors, Patrick, had a tendency to yell and burp a lot.
Lot of
As per his
range,
character, he doesn't
lot
do that
lot
normally.
lot of vocal range.
Yes. So we definitely had to adjust his microphone to deal with his pops and such. But I think it came out all right. I think between all the different takes we did, we'll have plenty of good audio.
I think so.
So I don't know. I haven't had a lot of experience shooting comedy stuff. Obviously I have my short film Dan Brown in real life, but that was just so early on, and I had no idea what I was doing. It was interesting to be so much further on in my filmmaking career and having so much more experience and more contacts and working with more professional people and everything to get in and really try to take it a little more seriously. I'll be interested to see how the edit turns out.
I will be too.
But I'm pretty excited. I'm really proud of what we shot. So, and thank you to all the guys and everything who worked on that.
Yeah,
So,
I mean that was a large part of the fun of this was working with those four guys.
mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, like they were just on, dude.
Right.
They were just on the whole time.
To roll back a little bit into our earlier discussions about finding stuff to screen, one of the harder blocks actually to program that we're still doing is a comedy block. I believe it's July 6th. We're doing a comedy block at the West End Summer Film Series. And there were surprisingly few comedy shorts submitted to the West End Film Series. I was surprised that more people aren't doing comedy. So, and it's hard to blame them because comedy's hard. I did it once and didn't do it well. Hopefully the second attempt goes better, but it's tough to do comedy right.
It really is, man. I mean, there's a lot more to it than,
because like we said, the production values may not be as demanding, but the timing and the humor and everything, there's there's no allotment for, oh, those guys are Hollywood pros and these guys are amateurs. It's either funny or it's not, and if people aren't laughing, it doesn't matter.
That's one of the crazy things about doing the comedy stuff, man, is that it's real simple to figure out whether or not it worked.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing you're judging it by is like one of the hardest things to pull off.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, you do a drama and you can discuss back and forth whether it worked or not. But
and there's almost, I don't want to simplify it too much, but there's almost a formula. There is if you want to get people to tear up in the audience, you can, there's probably a checklist of 3 or 4 things you got to do to hit that moment that'll make people tear up. But comedy is so subjective, and some stuff works for people and some stuff doesn't. I would hate to have to take a comedy to test audiences, because who knows, you may get the 50 people who just aren't into that kind of stuff, and all of a sudden you think your movie's terrible, but maybe the next group of people you show it to are in stitches, and who knows, what are you supposed to do with that feedback? So I guess on the plus side, comedy is probably one of the easiest things to take criticism of, because if somebody doesn't like it, you can just say, oh, well, I guess it's not your type of humor.
Yeah.
If you say, if somebody says your horror movie isn't scary, well, shit, your horror movie isn't scary. But if somebody says your comedy isn't funny, well, maybe it's not your type of funny.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely subjective.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to get some people on here who we know who have done some successful comedies and just talk about the art of doing funny stuff. So, well, we've been going for about 45 minutes. That's kind of an overview of a lot of the stuff we've been doing. I don't know if there was much else. Only person who's really asked some questions has been John Demers, our buddy John Demers. What has he been asking? Why do most producers in the Triangle not engage an attorney to make sure the production has a clear chain of title? Well, one, most people probably don't know exactly what all that is and why it's important. I know I don't. And the other thing I would say is, based on your mention of the word attorney, I'm going to assume it costs money and most of us are dirt poor. Those are my 2 excuses. I don't know if you're more familiar with legal stuff.
I think for a lot of people, or a lot of us who, we come to this from wanting to make art and not so much thinking about it as business. It might not occur to us. I mean, I've only more recently started to get my head in the game as far as like the business aspect goes, because it's so necessary.
Hmm.
And until I met JD, like chain of title,
Right.
like oh, okay, we gotta know who bought my car. Like, what the hell are we talking about here? Um,
Don't take my
but
car because I made a movie, man.
but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of us. We just want to make art. We just want to jump into it.
Mhm.
We got a script. We got a story. We're excited. We want to just get some people, some sets, and just start rolling, man.
Hmm.
Just, get some stuff happening, and then, but you know, there's a big difference between, do we want to just shoot some videos and get it out there, or do we want to like make something and try to get it to go as big as possible? And for
Right.
us to do that, we gotta know this stuff at least a little bit, so that if we could pair up with somebody who knows it a lot better, we're not approaching it from like a place of ignorance,
Right.
you know.
Well, I was listening to some back episodes of the indie was it Indie Film Hustle podcast?
Yeah,
Is that what it's called? Yeah.
great podcast.
Really great podcast. And they were actually talking about this topic. And they said so many people get into filmmaking and they think it's all about production. The three stages of making a movie are pre production, production, post production. Boom, you have a movie. And that's what most of us are excited about. That's the fun part. And a lot of people go to film school and everything to learn how to do this. And what you're taught there is the craft. And what people forget and what gets them so frustrated is that making a movie, like having a filmmaking career, is so much more than just making the movie. There's the marketing, there's the business aspect, there's the networking to get people interested in it and all that stuff. And I didn't go to film school, so I can't speak specifically to what's taught there, but it seems like they focus on the craft and everything, and it's not like you're taking a lot of business classes or legal classes to learn about the paperwork that goes on, and what's a good deal to make with this distributor and how to go out and find this kind of fund. I mean, I don't know if they even teach you how to go out and find funding. I think they're busy teaching you about lenses and don't tell you that much about going out and getting funding. And that's what ends up hurting people is you get a bunch of people in a community that want to play with a camera, and they would love to make a career out of this, but there's so much more than just making the movie, and that's where we're woefully most people are woefully undereducated. I would tell a lot of people, because there are so many resources for learning the craft online. I would tell people, if they're going to go to school for something, go get a degree in business or marketing, you know, and do as much as you can to learn the craft. Maybe a minor in that kind of stuff or whatever. But the business stuff is what's going to help you have a sustainable career.
Yeah, my film school had a producing curriculum, and I can't
Mm-hmm.
really tell you much of what went on in there, because when I went, I was more focused on post production and directing.
Mm-hmm.
So I took a couple of producing classes, so I knew a little bit, but yeah, fundraising,
Mm-hmm.
nope, no, I just tiny bit, man,
Right.
But
Well, and this show is almost a really good example of what that problem is, because we have people on here, usually directors, and most of the questions we ask them are production related stuff. Oh, how did you get that shot? Cinematography stuff. What was post production like on that? And again, we're just focusing on a very small part. We get producers on here, or marketing professionals, or people who can tell you a lot about distribution? No, I mean, it's not as sexy, it's not as fun, but it's every bit as important. So maybe we need to try to step up our game a little bit in the future, and bring in more people who are experts on the aspects of filmmaking and creating a career that most of us don't know a lot about.
I think so as well. I mean, it's one of those things. I don't think we can get too focused on just the business aspect,
Hmm.
you know. But we should definitely add it in.
Right.
Um, I mean, a lot of people coming into uh, filmmaking, or who've been doing it for a little while, they're still learning the craft. They're still honing their their skill. And so when we talk to somebody and we're learning about like what were the challenges of production, how did they get a shot, what kind of lenses did they use, why,
Mm-hmm.
that's really helpful.
Well, I'm not
But
saying there's nothing to learn there. Absolutely. No, that's great stuff.
yeah, I guess part of it too is that when it comes to some of the business stuff, we just don't always know the right questions to ask.
Right. Which
I think
maybe that makes us the most qualified people to do that, because we are open books as far as, tell us because that's one problem that you run into when you're listening to a show that's on a specific topic. If it gets too inside baseball, because the interviewer already has a base knowledge. So the two people are swapping information back and forth because they already know a lot of the shorthand stuff. But if we can come in and start asking a business guy questions about the film business, he uses an abbreviation we don't know. We're like, oh, all right, back up a couple steps, spell that out for me. And that, that can be helpful for people just trying to get into something.
Yeah, I agree.
So something to consider. Thank you, JD, for asking us that. I thought it was going to be a quick and dirty, because attorneys are expensive. Next question, but it opened up a bigger conversation. We should try to get more, more people from the other aspects of the business on here. So thank you, John. You have expanded our horizons.
And John also mentions the 6 P's. Prior proper production planning prevents problems.
Yes.
Say that 6 times real fast.
I think we should have had some of our actors do that today. They'd have made that hilarious. So, well, we're coming up on the 50-minute mark. So I'd say it's about time to wrap this up. I think we've run our mouths long enough about various random topics. This has been some epic vamping on our parts.
Everybody's just been so interactive with our beautiful faces.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, this was a high production level episode. We had some location changes with Konrad.
Production value.
Yeah. I mean, look at this. I put a lot of effort in this production value back here.
Now we can see my cluttered ass dresser back there.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you got? Like 4 water bottles back there?
I don't know what the fuck I got back there anymore, man. Lots of stuff. So I think there's a can of asparagus. Don't ask me why.
Oh, okay. Gross.
Yeah. Hey man, asparagus is good.
I was at the other night I was at the art museum. They were showing Mad Max Fury Road, and the Hell No was playing ahead of it, but they had a bunch of food trucks, and my wife comes back with some food, and she had some grilled Brussels sprouts.
Brussels sprouts are awesome.
I don't know if they're grilled or they weren't deep fried, but they had put covered them in olive oil and grilled them, and then they gave you some sauce to dip it in. And I'm not a Brussels sprout fan, but these were pretty good. So this has been local food chat show. We hope you guys enjoyed it. But no, this has been a fun little conversation. It's always nice to kind of re-get our bearings, especially after a long day actually doing this stuff. It's like, what all did I do today? To actually sit down and kind of go over it in our heads.
We did a lot, man.
Yeah, it's been a busy day. So a busy day of production, which is always the best. I hope everybody out there watching and listening also gets to have these days where you get up early and spend an entire day on set, and you finish and you're like, holy shit, I can't believe I just produced.
Let's not forget that we did a little bit of pre-production for another thing today as well.
For another project, yeah.
Yeah.
And we also went to Chipotle and got burritos.
Even better.
And that was a big highlight too. Duck donuts and Chipotle in one day, and to the best of our knowledge, did not get food poisoning.
I'm gonna poop like a champ tomorrow, man.
Oh man. Well, hopefully we'll have a guest for you guys next week. To our buddy Tom Gore, who again is not with us, despite what the title of the live episode says. Best wishes to him for whatever his
Emergency
was. Hopefully that all gets worked out as good as possible, and we will try to get him on as soon as possible. We wanted to, like I said, talk to him about his 60-second short films, which are kind of cool, and we definitely want to get that conversation in for you guys sometime. So sometime in the near future, Tom Gore will come back to discuss his work with us. So, but for now, I guess we will go ahead and call it a night. You guys can always hit us up with an email at localfilmtalk@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at localfilmtalk. And subscribe to our YouTube channel and our podcast on iTunes if you want to get these episodes first. But right now, we've had a long day of production and more shit to do. I've got West End stuff to do. I'm sure you got some Film Spark stuff. And you also have all the footage from a short film to edit.
I got some editing to do.
So we are just getting started with our stuff today. There's much more to do. So anyways.
Always more to do.
Is there anything else you want to add?
Can I just do this for a little while?
Yeah. Well, do it for like 5 seconds, and then we'll just make a 10-hour loop and put it on YouTube. Yeah. This is our show now. All right, folks. Well, this has been another episode of Local Film Talk. Thanks, Konrad, for taking one more hour out of your day to spend with my ugly ass. Thank you to John Demers in the chat room for asking a great question. And thanks to everybody else watching and listening to the show. Like I said, subscribe. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube or a rating on iTunes. Preferably 5 stars. As long as we're begging for a rating, we might as well beg them to give us 5 stars.
Yeah. Just review us. Tell us that we sound awesome or not so awesome.
And how much you love asparagus.
It makes your pee green.
Good night, folks. We'll end on that note.
Fun. That's half the fun out of it right there, man.
There we go. Well, this has been another episode of Local. Huh?
So you're trying to end it, and I'm just trying to ruin it.
I'm trying, and you're just sabotaging me. Holy shit.
I'm just saying it's tasty, and then later your pee is green. It's fucking awesome.
What's not to love?
This episode of Local Film Talk is brought to you by a can of asparagus.
And Kroger's Black Cherry Soda.
Yes.
So, all right, guys, this has been another episode of Local Film Talk. You all have a good night.